Hey everyone, I'm Ariel Majeski. I'm a student in Music 499, and this is my first DAW Tour. Yeah, so welcome. And I'm just gonna give you a demonstration of the basics, which I have right here in our syllabus, just so it helps me remember what we're going through. And we're gonna do this 8-bar loop. We'll do an 8-bar loop through Logic Pro X. So I'm gonna open that up. And this is version 10.4.4. There actually is enough disk space to show you the fundamentals. And it always likes to open up with this default project I've been working on. I don't know why. I have to fix that. So we're just going to do new. Okay, so from this point in Logic Pro X, you have the option. It's pretty similar to GarageBand if you haven't worked on this before. You have an empty project or some templates. So if you needed some inspiration, you needed to listen to some, sample beats, and then you can customize those as you want, and then add tracks. You can do the templates, but we're just going to do an empty project for right now. Cool. So now we choose a track type. I actually have a full MIDI keyboard that's connected with an USB to my computer. And so when we go here, if I actually click on this, the output could actually be my keyboard. To give you an idea, and this you can determine which input you want, but no input we can create. And if I put the volume on my keyboard, you can hear my keyboard in the back. If I press record, you can actually hear the notes through my keyboard. Because that's where the output is. You're not going to hear it on the computer. So if I were to actually have the volume off on my keyboard, this could record all the notes, but you're just not going to hear it. But it's still there. But if I were to turn on the volume back on, you can still kind of hear it. So that's how that works in terms of the input and output on if I just want to use my keyboard. But I don't, because there's so many other VST instruments that are more fun to play with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to open this back up, and instead we're going to use a plugin. Cool. And we'll just have the default patch for now, because I find it easier to search in the bar that's going to show up in a second. So I'm just going to delete this. You right-click, delete track. Don't need it. And so I'm going to put my volume down on my keyboard so I don't hear the keyboard as well as the VST instrument. So now we just hear the VST instrument. So we don't want the electric piano. I kind of want to do something different, something I've never really played around with before. So I'm just going to type in drum. And here's the options I have. Ooh, metal drum ping. Wonder what that sounds like. Ooh, I like that. That's cool. So what's nice about some of these instruments on the plugin is that depending on the velocity, how hard you press the keys, it can change the timbre a little bit, so it might sound like more you're really striking it hard on that metal drum versus if I lightly tap on that key. So you can kind of hear, I'm not really pressing it that hard, but if I were, it would kind of give that staccato. So I kind of like that expression. I think we'll stick with that. Just to give some other pieces of information as we're working with this DAW. We have our bars. I kind of want to see all of them incrementally by one. There we go. So we just move that. So we're going to be doing an 8-bar, right? So you just click on this, and you just move it over. I'm on a mouse pad, so give me 1 second. There we go. So now it's looped. You can toggle that over here too. So even if you don't have it, this is still technically selected. Another fun thing that makes your life easier, you can really start on anywhere you want, but if you're starting over here, instead of dragging this back all the time, if you prefer to start at 1, which is what I'll be doing, on a Mac, I'm not sure if you can do this on a PC, but at least on a Mac, you press the enter button, /return, and it goes back to 1. So that's pretty helpful if you didn't know that before. And then we have the tempo here, and where to keep it at, 120. Let's see, you also have your time signature, and you have the key signature. So you can change all of these. This is kind of cool because I can record this in any key signature, but then I can just kind of transpose it to a specific key I want. And for these others, you have customize options. So you just click the highlighted area and put the numbers you want, or whatever selection they give you. So this button is to give you your count in. If you want it before you play, I find that definitely useful because I don't like playing something without knowing exactly when it's going to start. So I'm going to keep that there. Metronome gives you the shortcut too, so K is if I want that the entire time, which I will, even though I'm going to quantize what I have. I'll keep that for now. So that's K, and that's the up arrow with K, so but we're going to keep that. And other options that we're going to work with, I think we'll just start recording for now, and we'll just go through it. Spacebar if you want to just play, but not record. I'm going to enter back. R is the record button, so I find that most easy to work with. So let's put some beats down. Let me think if I can come up with a fun melody. That's kind of cool. I might mix it up a little bit and make it a little bit louder. So I'm just going to delete that, go back. Let's try that again. Something like that, I don't know. Just kind of played around. It looks like that came right over the 4th. So let's work with that. This is obviously not quantized because I goofed up at the end. There's multiple ways you can fix this. If we want to see the characteristics of what I just played, a shortcut is I. It's called the inspector. So when you press I, you have some information. Quantize is actually off, so you can actually change quantize here. Classic, smart quantize. My bad, here's what you want. So we would want 1/16th note. You can also honestly just click this and press Q. Ooh, and it quantizes it. Default is the 16th note. So let's hear it now. Not bad. Let me hear that one more time. It's a little soft. Okay, alright, I like it a little bit. We'll make the channel itself just a little bit louder. Alright. Ooh, you can also change the volume here if you really want. There's multiple ways to do this, honestly. Your stereo, if you have multiple tracks, if you fix the volume here, it's going to change all of the sounds coming in instead of just one track. So if I just changed the volume on this, if I had 4 tracks, it would increase the volume of all of those signals. So since we're only working with one, I really don't care where this is set, because even though it says it's kind of a little too loud, I'm not really hearing it distorted that much, so I'm okay with what I have. And let's see here, if we want to loop it, right, because we want 8 bars. Let me just move that for a second so I can see what I'm doing. We can right click this, loop on and off. Whee! And we have that. But I don't like where it looped it. because that little bit here ruined everything. Fantastic. We can fix that. Let's not worry about that. Let's go to editor. And so here's your piano roll. You can actually see all of your notes. Wish I could make this full screen. I'm sure there's a way. I just can't think of it right now. I might just go to the score so I can actually see the notes I have, which is pretty cool. Let me see what's happening on that fifth. Oh, there actually isn't a note there. It's kind of hard to tell because on here it's a little unclear. This really gives me the specifics that I need. And you can change the notes too. Ooh. Oh no, group chats. Oh no. Okay. Okay, you know what? We're gonna turn off that phone right now because we don't need to know what's going on. So power off the phone. I have my phone notifications connected with my computer, so that's done. So I guess what I can do here, see if I can cut this. Come back here. It's nice that you can see the precision on the sheet music right here when I move this over, so I can see exactly where I'm gonna cut it. Cool. If I start here, even if I drag this to a specific measure, because it's looped, it's always gonna start at the beginning. Perfect. So I cut it just right, so there's no notes missing, because there were no notes to begin with here, but it's a little trickier when you can't see without the score what you're doing. Okay, so now, hopefully when I press this button, yay, look, now it's seamless, now it's cohesive, now we're not waiting such a long time for the next measure. Ooh, I love this. Woo! Cool. Alright, I'm in love. Okay, so now that we kind of figured out this, smart tempo I really don't work with as much. You really don't need that for the fundamentals. So if I want to get out of this, there's piano roll, press P again to get rid of it. Oh, and then S for, what is that for? Is that for this? Let me press S again because I don't want that for the headphones. Okay. S was not for score, which is what I thought it was originally, so forget that. Just P for piano roll, or if you wanted to edit, same thing, because your edit functions are here. S is not for score. Fun fact. Or for smart tempo. Anyway, now that we have that, let's pull up our inspector thing again. Oh, I should mention. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Never mind. Anyway, I know I'm in like 8 different places right now. In fact, because of that, I'm going to check to make sure I've been telling you everything you're supposed to. Yeah. Yes. Cool. Yes, the space bar is also the stop. The space bar. Space bar stop. Okay. Right. Now we're going to do the effects. Okay. Cool. I'm right on schedule. Okay. So after I press the inspector thing again, this kind of shows you the channel just for this specific track, right? If I were to add more tracks, you'd have more channels, so it would have the metal drum plus another one, and then the stereo. Okay. So, oh, by the way, you can also fix the velocity on here. So, like I said, I thought this was maybe a little too soft. If I wanted every single note to sound like it was being striked upon, increase that a little bit. Yeah, those sound a little bit louder than they were, and that's just by the velocity. So it fixes the timbre a little bit, a little more staccato, which I'm okay with. So the next thing we're gonna do, looks like I have these effects already in place, but I honestly wasn't using them, so we're just gonna power these off for a second. Let me get rid of this region here so we can see what's going on. And I'll get rid of these buses. If you're wondering what a bus is, these weren't being used. A bus, I don't know if I'm going to articulate this well enough because I haven't really experienced them too much with my own work, but it's kind of like copying multiple signals of the original. And so what this allows you to do is if you want more effects without affecting the original, you have these buses. So you can add, you have your original signal, and then you can have 1, 2, 3, plus how many ever buses you want of the own signals, and then they're mixed with the original, so you can create some pretty cool textures with them. But we were not going to be really working with those. We're just going to do the basics, which is just putting on a VST effect. So this is the sampler we were using for the Metal Drum Ping EX S24, in case you were wondering. If you turn this off, you will not hear sound. You'll just hear that lovely metronome, which we can get rid of now. So we're going to turn that back on. Oh, fun fact, if I wanted the MIDI on, it could also do some effects. I can do an arpeggiator. So if that pops up. It's kind of cool. It can vary too. With octave ranges. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty fun. I don't know if I want it right now. Maybe later. So, for now, we're just going to turn that off. Just work with the notes we already recorded. Yeah, so let's actually do those VST effects. So, I don't want tape delay. I love reverbs. I love them, I love them, I love them. Oops, I meant to press this little arrow thing here. So here's some examples of what you can do with modulation, delay, echo, tremolo, some other ones I was using earlier. So let's do this. Do stereo. And if you're not familiar with how these effects work, the main thing is if you want it to play at all, you want some wetness to it. That's how filters are described. So you kind of have your dry version. If you want it completely saturated with the filter, you can have it 100%. Now it's kind of at 70, so let's hear how it sounds. Cool. Yeah, I dig that. I dig that. And, you know, if you were going to make it even more, see how it's not dry anymore? Now this is just the filter, it's like not even recording. I'm gonna put that back on 70. Okay, back. Let's make this, the decay, like 15. Let's just really play around with this. Ooh! Oh yeah! That sounds cool. Play with all of these features. I feel like I'm on a tropical island, but it's very ethereal with this filter, so I feel like it's a fantasy that I'm on a tropical island. I don't know. I like storytelling. I'm a journalist. That's enough about me. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna work with that. If you hear an extra sound right now, my computer's overheating, so hopefully this won't crash. Oh, anxiety. Okay, so I like that a lot, actually. So we might work with that. If you're really curious to hear it with the arpeggio. Okay, I admit, I like it. I really should be moving the stereo audio, not the speaker. But my initial reaction was to do this. That's dope. Cool. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna export 2 copies because I love both. But so you can actually hear the loop without the arpeggio at first because it's a little much. Oh, and just another side note, you have effects here too, and like equalizers. But that's for the stereo. So if you have like multiple tracks here, plus this one, if you were to do the same effect, let's say you turn this one off, but you did it here, then all of these tracks would have the filter applied, even if you said no to this one. So if you don't want that, if you want each one to be individual and not also customized with a whole stereo one, just remember to stay away from playing with these because you'll be like, why does this one keep changing back to the filter I turned the power off? So it's just important to note. Also, if you want to hear specific tracks, you can mute it if you want. And yeah, with equalizers, you can attenuate, you know, and this is on the stereo, I realize, but you can attenuate the, if you want lower frequencies or higher frequencies to be heard or not. So I guess since we only have one track here, we can do the stereo. Let's play it. So that really gives you a customized flair of, you know, which frequencies you really want to be stressed, especially with a filter already applied. So that's pretty fun. But we're gonna turn that off for now because I think it's good as it is, and you know that's getting into more stuff I'm sure we'll cover in future DAW tours. I'm really getting ahead of myself, I know. Okay, so let me now that we did that, let me just move this for a second, and is this loop for eternity? It is, isn't it? Okay, I'm trying to remember the shortcut of just exporting this. I think I don't want all. Not control all, or command all, I should say. Whoops. I think if I just, let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, honestly, what you could do is trying to make sure if there's any other buttons I should tell you about. JK, that was not what I was supposed to do. I don't even know if I did it actually. Oh, wait. I just have the tool, don't I? Trim region start. Previous region? Question. That's not. Some of these I'm not as familiar with. Split at locators. Will that work? Oh, cool. Yay, I did it. I'm sorry, I'm like way more excited than I should be about that. Okay, that sounds good enough. That sounds pretty cohesive. Now that we have our 8, what I like to do is you can do a few things. You can bounce it, Command B with your loop. And just check your resolution, your sample rate. This is probably something you could also do at the beginning before you even start, but right before you export is a good thing too. Destinations. You can have multiple destinations. You can even burn it to a CD. What are CDs anymore, right? Who uses CDs? I still kind of do. Oh, and then you can just put it wherever you want. So, look, I have a separate folder. I'm so organized, and I don't know what I'm going to call it. I'm just going to say fantasy, I don't know. Is it Caribbean? Caribbean, tropical island, right? Sweet. We're going to bounce that. Or, you know, just since these are highlighted, go to File, Export, one region as audio file. You can also do a loop if you selected, you know, if you had multiple parts and you just wanted one specific area, you can just loop that. But since we only have one thing we're working with, I mean, you can just export the whole thing. And look, Logic actually makes us a separate folder for bounces. But we're just going to be consistent. Oh, you get to see all my folders. Great. And where's the one I just had? Oh, right here. Cool. Yeah, so we're also going to export this. 16-bit. AIFF is good. Like waves. Pretty good stuff. You can, you know, work with your metadata if you really want something customized to help you find it later, especially if you have multiple files later on. And then you're just going to press export. Cool. So let's go back to what we have. Back to documents. Oh, I didn't even name it the same. That's okay. Cool. You notice that at the end, it didn't really include the tail, which I could have had it do. And the tail is like, you realize it has that reverb, right? So if you played it on here and it stopped, you would have that reverb, that continuous echo, which you can actually set as you're exporting it. This doesn't include that, and it would probably be the same for here. There was one of those options at the beginning when I was exporting it saying include tail, which I did not select. So you can do that, and then it will kind of keep that for a few seconds. So you get the full effect instead of it just stopping. Yeah, see, it did the same thing. But you can always fix that as you're exporting it. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Did I cover everything? Basic single wave export. Oh, there's a few other things. My bad. I'm sorry. You're not done with me yet. I didn't even show you automation. There's a few ways you can automate. You can click this right here. You have your volume. You can also select specific other things like this arpeggiator. If we have a specific attenuation we want, you have this thing right here, and you can click on certain points and move it up and down and do whatever you want. Might be very subtle, but it is actually doing something. And I'm pressing Command Z to get away from all that. Okay. You can also fix the hertz in which you want it to be affected, so that's also probably why you're not hearing much. We're gonna change it back to volume. And you see there's like different colors depending on what you're working with, which is nice because you can remember, oh, purple's for that, you know, filter I was working with. And so this is a little bit more obvious to tell if it's working. Yeah, so you can hear that. Cool. Okay, we're done with that. Other basic things, you have your pan. So if you want to start off with the left side of the speaker or monitor and then shift to the right, it's kind of hard to tell through this Snagit recording, but it is working. This is really good if you want to listen to headphones. You'll really get that experience. I have a keyboard like I said, so what I can do is actually set up specific commands for my keyboard. Like I have specific dials, and if I wanted to command a specific dial on my keyboard to make this pan instead of using the mouse pad, I can do that. To be honest, I've used other keyboards to command that kind of stuff, so I haven't actually tried it on this specific keyboard, but it's pretty universal. I just need to get better at doing it. It's not really something I've had too much experience with, but I've done it a couple of times, so it's pretty cool because, you know, it's a little more natural to be using a dial that's similar to this as opposed to a mouse pad on a Mac. But those are some basic automation tools, like panning, that's pretty cool. There's other things. Is that the time flex? What did that do again? I know you can flex, you can stretch out, and, you know, fix the speed. But yeah, show flex. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And then you can make it faster or slower, and that affects the pitch as well. So those are some basic automation functions if you really need to know. Oh, another cool thing. If you know, this is a little more advanced, not like the basics, but these are other options. Latch, for instance, if let's say you're using another control, like, you know, for the pan, and you're using your keyboard and you're using a dial, when you press latch and record it, like when you use that specific automation, it records it with the file, so it's there. I did not articulate that well. I'm sure there's other ways to explain that. But there's other specific versions like read, where it's just reading, it's not like fully recording it. And I think write's a little harder because I think it doesn't allow you to go back. It's actually with the recording, so you have to do the recording again. I believe that's the difference. I'm not entirely sure if I got that accurate, but it's good to keep it on read. I'll probably go back and make sure I actually explained that correctly, but that's, you know, I as much as I love using this Logic Pro X, it's I could always learn more. Let's put it that way. Oh yeah, and then copy and paste. I mean, I don't know if I really showed you that before. I just take that, Command C. Boop. There we go. Command V. Do I want to sure, I'll copy the automation data. There you go. There it is again. Okay, now you know how to do that. Did I cover everything now? I know I've been talking forever. Cool, cool. Let's make sure I actually was right when I talked about the exporting. File, export. Include everything and the volume pan. And we can actually name this the same. We'll just do Tropical Fantasy. Ooh. Oh shoot, I actually didn't look where that was going. Oh no, I don't think that's in the 499 folder. You guys probably know which folder I just put it in. Oh, wait. Or is it this one? Did it even include the filter we just had on it? I must have selected something that got rid of that. Well, I think you had enough of me talking. There was a selection on there where, you know, I think it got actually rid of the filter depending on what I just clicked. Let me just... Anyway, before I make more of a fool of myself, you get the idea. I think I pretty much covered everything I was supposed to. I think it's just the tail. When you export, you just select the tail, and it will include the tail when you have your reverb. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for sticking around for the entire thing. I'm so glad this did not crash on me because it is really hot. Because it's on my lap. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for my videos, critiques, I'll take anything. I'm happy to hear. Or if I got something wrong, let me know, or if I could have explained something better. But yeah, tell me everything through your reflections. I will comment on your guys's too. I'm sure everyone's is fantastic. And if anyone's using Logic Pro X, they'll probably be laughing at mine, but that's totally cool. Anyway, have a great night, and catch you next time.